it going, everyone? Mega Mashers here, and in this video, we are going to be reviewing Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir. Now, I want to do things a little bit differently here. Rather than doing it the old-fashioned way, where I would do it in PowerPoint form, I want to do things a little bit differently. I want to do things that helps get the point across much better, and it offers much better visuals. So, I want your feedback as to which way you prefer. Do you prefer the old way, or would you prefer this way? Please let me know in the comments section down below. Okay, now that we got that disclaimer out of the way, so let's take a look at regular Gardevoir. So if we highlight the typing, it's Fairy and Psychic, which means that right off the bat, because of Fairy, you're going to be immune to Dragon. That is awesome. And because of your Fairy and Psychic typing, you have a 4 times resistance to fighting. That is also very awesome. You have a 2 times resistance to Psychic. However, you are not very weak, but you are weak to the likes of Ghost, Poison, and Steel. That's not good. But you want to know something that is good? Bisharp, because Bisharp tanks all 3 of those weaknesses. And while yes, it does have a 4 times weakness to fighting, well, guess what? Gardevoir has a 4 times resistance to fighting. So that means right off the bat, what does that tell you? That Bisharp and Gardevoir are good partners for each other. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the abilities here right quick. So it gets Synchronize, Telepathy, and Trace. So Synchronize is an ability that reflects status afflictions back at the opponents. So say if you get Paralyzed, Poison, or Burn, as long as your opponent is not immune to those statuses, they are going to get it back. And that's sort of a good way to troll users that like to spam status moves. Up next, its hidden ability is known as Telepathy, and what Telepathy does, it's useless in singles, but what it does is, in doubles, it avoids your partner's widespread moves. So say, for example, your partner goes for a widespread move like Earthquake. Well, Telepathy kicks in, you take no damage. That is amazing. And lastly, we got Trace. Trace is an amazing ability, and what this does is it copies your opponent's abilities, and you could potentially use it against them. So say, for example, you have an opponent that has the Intimidate ability. Intimidate lowers your opponent's attack by 1 stage. Gardevoir's not going to care about that. It's going to trace it back and lower your attack by 1 stage thanks to Intimidate. Or if it's a Pokemon that is, say, an electric type and has Volt Absorb or something like that, and you switch Gardevoir in, they trace that, and it gets Volt Absorb, your electric attacks become useless, and that's going to be frustrating. And let's take a look at the stats here right quick. So it has 68 on the HP, 65 in both the attack and defense, 125 for the special attack, damn son, 115 for the special defense, and 80 in the speed. So this right here says that this thing is going to be a special attacker, and with base 125 special attack, it's going to hit hard. Base 80 speed, it's respectable, but you're going to be outsped by a lot of things in OU, so you pretty much are forced to run a Choice Scarf set if you want to be able to get any outspeeds and become a Revenge Killer. Now, let's take a look at Mega Gardevoir. So it maintains its Fairy Psychic typing. It gets the ability Pixelate, and what Pixelate does is it boosts the power of normal type moves by 3%, then turns them into fairy type moves, and on top of that, you get Stab. So that means 30 and 80 and 50, oh my god. Your moves are going to be boosted up like mad. And speaking of boosted up like mad, let's take a look at the stats here. So we got 68 on the HP, 85 on the attack, 65 on the defense, 165 on the special attack, oh my god. 135 on the special defense, that means that this thing has well over 300 special defense points, which means it will be tanking up hits on the special side as if it's not a big deal. And base 100 speed, that's pretty respectable, although it's not the greatest speed, obviously, and it's pretty average in OU standards. It's not bad either, because this thing is fast enough to be a very awesome stall breaker, because this thing does get taunt. And speaking of movesets, allow me to navigate to Pokemon Showdown to show you some set ideas for Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir. So look at this right here. This right here is a set that I would recommend you guys using. We got Choice Scarf. Choice Scarf locks you into one move, but boosts your speed by 50%. And we're going to be going with Trace. That way you can use your opponent's abilities against them potentially. So as for the moveset, we have Moonblast for a very powerful Fairy-type stab. We have Psyshock for Psychic Stab, as well as targeting your opponent's physical defense, most notably Blissey or Chansey. You got Focus Blast and Shadow Ball for amazing coverage. This thing right here is going to have a hard time having opponents switch into safely, unless, of course, you're locked into a move that is either resisted or immune to. But even still, switch in on this thing at your own risk without without taking a huge amount of damage, because this thing is awesome. So let's just take a look at the EV spread that I have here. So I decided to go with the Timid Nature to maximize its speed and lower its attack. We won't be needing attack in any situation here. So as you see here, fuck off. As you see here, we have 349 special attack. That is a result of maximum investment in it. And then we have 284 speed, thanks to its maximum investment, and then we'll put the remaining 4 EVs into its special defense. So with Choice Scarf here, you're going to be running well over 420 on the speed, sorry. That means that you're going to be getting some pretty awesome outpaces and kills, essentially. Now, there are different ways of doing this. You can go with Choice Specs, which allow me to highlight here right quick. Choice Specs is an item, that boosts your special attack by 50%, but locks you into one move. And if you still want to go with Timid, I mean, you're going to have 284 speed, and that's okay-ish. But do note that you could potentially be outsped by faster threats. Or if you just straight up don't care, you want to go balls to the wall, maximum power, we'll go with Modest. 383 on the special attack. That's insane. And of course, yeah, you got 259 on the speed. But if you want to give it a Choice Scarf, you'll have over 385 on the speed. And that is pretty awesome as well. But do note that because you're not hitting that benchmark of 400 plus, you will potentially be outsped by a numerous amount of threats. Now, I also just want to point out right quick that this thing has a very colorful move pool. If you want to have an additional coverage move that, say, your team lacks, say if you're worried about things like Mega Swampert, you can go with Energy Ball. Or, if you want, you can go with Thunderbolt, right here. Or, you can even go with something like Trick. And Trick is a very awesome move in tandem with a choice item, because what this does is it switches the held items between you and your opponents, and if you end up tricking your choice item away to a wall, that means they're going to be crippled. That is amazing. So that right there is how I would run Gardevoir. Either 4 attacks, or you can run 3 attacks and a trick. And that right there is going to spell a disaster for unprepared teams. Now let's just go ahead and take a look at Mega Gardevoir. Mega Gardevoir, oh man. Thanks to Pixelate, it gets Hyper Voice turned into Fairy type. And this is base 90 power. You factor in the fact that it gets a 30% boost for free, because it's a normal type move, and then you factor in it gets turned into Fairy type and gets Stab. Good God. That is insane. So the moveset that I have here, we can go with Hyper Voice for Fairy type stab, Psyshock for Psychic stab, Focus Blast to hit things like Bisharp and Tyranitar and Heatran very hard. And lastly, you can go with Taunt, because this allows for you to be a stall breaker. Or you can even go with something like Will-O-Wisp to allow you to cripple physical attackers, and that right there will allow for you to have a better chance at soaking up physical hits, as well as being able to naturally soak up special attacks. Or you can even go with something like Destiny Bond. Sorry about that. Destiny Bond. And what this does is, if you use Destiny Bond and then your opponent attacks you and you faint, guess what? You take the opponent down with you. So say, for example, you get a kill, and then if you're weak and you have pretty much no hope in surviving the next hit, then you can Destiny Bond your opponent if you outspeed it, and they can take you down, and you can take them down with you with Destiny Bond. So that means that you get 2 kills for basically the price of 1 Pokemon, being Mega Gardevoir. And with this spread here, it's very similar to the regular Gardevoir. We're going to go with max special attack, max speed, and the rest are going to be put into special defense. And with this here, you have almost 430 on your special attack with a timid nature and well over 300 speed. That is very respectable. And this thing, also, I just want to point out right quick, that this thing has access to Calm Mind, which allows for you to be a setup sweeper. And with this immediate power, and with Calm Mind boosting your special attack and special defense by 1 stage, good God. Good God. That is insane. That means that your special attack is going to be hitting over 600, and you can pretty much sweep teams that are not prepared for this. Now, I want to show you guys a set that my friend Darius came up with a very long time ago, and you know what? It works out pretty cool. So we got a very bulky setup sweeper for Mega Gardevoir. You're probably thinking, well, base 68 HP and 65 on the defense, like this thing's not going to be bulky and taking up hits. When your opponents don't expect this coming, they're going to be thinking, what the fuck do I do here? So, of course, we got Snore, and what Snore is, it's a base 50 special type move that is can only be used for whenever you're sleeping, and that's fine. We got Snore, Psyshock, Rest, and Calm Mind. So basically how this goes, you set up a couple Calm Minds, get a rest off, and while you're sleeping, you're thinking, the opponent's going to be thinking, oh, well, this thing is just going to be setup fodder. Nope. Snore is going to be usable, and you can actually fire off very powerful attacks with Snore after a couple Calm Mind boosts. And what's even better about this thing is, alongside with Hyper Voice, Snore is a sound-based move, which will go through substitute users. And this Snore move has a 30% chance of flinching your opponents. That's insane. So let's just take a look at the EV spread. So I got 248 in the HP, 252 in the defense, and 8 into special defense. You just take a look at that. That's some pretty good, well-rounded bulk right there. And even without any investment in your special attack, that's 366 right there. That is insane. And after a couple of Calm Mind boosts, you're going to be hitting well over 700. That is nuts. Now, I would also just like to point out that if you want to avoid being 2-hit KO'd by a Life Orb Psyshock from Latios, you can take away some of the special attack and put it into the physical defense. I believe you need actually only 24 defense EVs in order to survive a Life Orb Psyshock Latios twice. So that means that you will not be 2-hit KO'd, and you can still switch in, eat up a Psyshock, eat up another Psyshock, and OHKO it with Moonblast. So there you have it, guys. That's pretty much how you use Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir. If you like this way, as I said, drop a comment in the comment section down below as to which way you prefer. Do you prefer me doing Pokemon reviews this way with Smogon and Pokemon Showdown, or do you prefer me doing it the old-fashioned way where I used PowerPoint? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and also don't forget to comment and leave a like for this video, and comment on whether you like it, whether you didn't like it, if there's something I missed, and all that good stuff. Also, subscribe for more content, and subscribe to the craziest PokeTuber to be there is,